This is the Preach Jacobs podcast.
Yo, high power, the mic's power.
1 2 1 2 1 2. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Preach Jacobs with the Preach Jacobs podcast, sponsored by SoulHAUS Gallery at the Koger Center. I am the founder and owner of SoulHAUS Art Gallery. Please come and check out our artwork with some of the flyest artists in the Columbia area and beyond. Right now, we have some artwork by the amazing Sanford Green, who is doing work for Marvel and doing some work with the Amazing Spider-Man movie. And he's also known for Bitterroot. We have some of his pieces in there, and also Anthony Lewis. Also, be sure to check out our series, the SoulHAUS Sessions, where I'm having one-on-one conversations with fascinating people. Our first one is going to be with Nikki Finney. By the time you guys hear that or hear this podcast, that would have happened. We did on this August the 20th, but our next one is going to be September the 10th. And right now we have Chef Amethyst Ganaway, who's going to be a guest for that. The artist will be to be determined, but just keep up with us. Make sure you check us out online. Follow me on all my socials. Just go to Preach Jacobs on all that good stuff to check out all the upcoming stuff for the Preach Jacobs podcast. Also, shout out to our sponsors, Mo Better Soul. I'm Mo Better Soul. And we also have Tussie, ooh. And we are powered by BIG Media LLC. So that's how you guys are hearing it right now. If you guys have been following me in the Columbia, South Carolina area, I've been doing a lot of shit. So I am a columnist for the Free Times and Postal Courier Columbia. Have a column coming out this week talking about my birthday and getting older and all that good stuff. I got a little funny story about that in a second. But I've been doing column work for a long time, involved in the community as a hip-hop artist, as a DJ. I won Best Local Hip-Hop Artist for the Best of Columbia with the Free Times and first runner-up for Best DJ. So thank you guys for all your votes. Yeah, so I say all that for the people that may not know who I am. If you're listening for the first time and never heard my voice before, welcome. If y'all know me, what up? We wanted to do something, and I know you guys probably seen iterations of me doing a podcast before where I've done something called the Negro League, where I'm talking blackity black shit, which has never changed, right? Also, I did stuff for an organization called The Arena, where it was more politically based, and now the Preach Jacobs podcast, trying to simplify things. This is going to be something to kind of tie in the work that I'm doing at the Koger Center. So outside of having SoulHAUS Art Gallery on Lincoln Street for a couple of years, I think that the idea of using art as a platform to kind of go out in the community and not just be a brick and mortar was something that was really important to me. So the conversation series we're doing at the Koger Center kind of does that, where we're just having two people talk and having fly art, and I play vinyl, and it's really, really, really fucking cool. So if you guys want to get tickets for the next show, make sure you go to my Preach Jacobs page on Instagram. Follow me, hit me up, or you can go to SoulHAUS, soulhaus.art on Instagram as well to check all that stuff out. Also, we have some more other amazing events that we're doing at the Koger Center for the Arts with SoulHAUS. We're doing a vibe called yoga. We did that first one August the 3rd for the 1 year anniversary. And shout out to Adia. Basically, it's a yoga class with me playing some fly ass music. So we're going to listen to down tempo hip hop, some soul, some R&B while you get your stretch on. I ain't going to do it because I ain't going to pull a motherfucking muscle in front of y'all. But the next one is going to be in October. Hopefully, I'll get her on the pod talking more about it. But for all the cool shit that we're doing, please keep your eyes open for what we're doing on all the social media stuff, and check out the writings. Shout out to the Free Times and Postal Courier Columbia. And I just want this to be a complimentary thing to go with the work that I'm doing at the Koger Center. And it was a challenge, right? Because I think that what ends up happening is I wrote this article about when I turned 40, and it was about how do you have a midlife crisis in the 2020s, right? Like you watch Mad Men and Don Draper, when he has a midlife crisis, he, leaves his family for a while, has an affair with his secretary, probably end up marrying the secretary, buy a sports car. And it's like, yo, man, who the fuck has a job where you have a secretary? Who can afford a family? And how can you buy a sports car? So the joke was always the way that men have a midlife crisis in the 2020s is they start a fucking podcast. I get it. I understand. We don't need any more podcasts. I understand it. I don't want to do a podcast unless there's a purpose behind it, or I feel like I'm doing something that makes sense. So I've gone through this challenge in my mind where I'm like, we're doing these conversation series at the Koger Center, which by and large it is live podcast, right? It's just really organic live conversations, and that's the thing, right? I just want to have really great conversations with really dope people and the energy of a live crowd. I'm a hip hop artist from the get go, so we vibe off the energy of people in the crowd. So being able to do something like that is really, really important. So it made sense for me to say, let's have a podcast that kind of makes sense with this. But it was also the challenge of, how do I produce this? Do I need to film it myself? Do I need to shoot it? And I went through all this stuff, which delayed it, right? Because I don't have the cameras or the camera work or the budget to do all this type of shit. So you're essentially depending on other people to make sure you get this and all that. And it got to the point where I was just like, I came across this list of top podcasts nationally, and the Smart List podcast with Jason Bateman and a few other his friends. It's an audio only podcast, and it was just like, why the fuck are we gonna film this? And I thought about it, like, who wants to see my face the whole time? So, not saying I'm against the idea of doing a film podcast. I just think that my background is in radio, man. You hear this smooth, buttery voice, and so that's an inside joke with that. But like, let's make the content, let's make it fly, let's make it dope. Don't overthink it. So we're gonna have really, really fly conversations, and this is something that maybe we'll do once a week, maybe do it twice a week. I'm not sure how frequent I would do it, but I do know that it's going to be outreach based, and me reaching out to people in the community that I really think are really fly and dope and doing really, really cool shit. And we got some sponsors coming down the pipe and all that stuff. I want to say a shout out for this first episode to my homie Barrett Gruber of the All About Nothing podcast, who's also distributing the Preach Jacobs podcast. So thank you so much for helping out with this. So this one less thing I got to worry about. I'm just going to upload this shit and send it to you. You'll hear this conversation I had with him, where I've been on his All About Nothing podcast for a few times, and he's also won Best Runner Up of Best of Columbia podcast of the Free Time. Shout out to him on all the work that he's doing. We were having a discussion about figuring out a way to collaborate and do something, and I thought this would make sense for the Preach Jacobs podcast to help him distribute it and put it out. And so I said to him, like, how would we do a first episode of us having a conversation? And he was just like, why don't we just treat it like an AMA type of thing where, we're constantly in positions as journalists and people that are in front of a mic for a living. We're always interviewing other people. So he's like, well, I'll just ask you some questions for your podcast. So I couldn't think of a better way to have the first episode of the Preach Jacobs podcast and to have my good homie Barrett ask me some questions. I hope you guys enjoy this first episode of the Preach Jacobs podcast. And if you guys want to keep up with us, once again, check out everything on socials. Just type in Preach Jacobs. You'll see my face on here. And we're going to figure this out. So whether we add some things and whether I can have episodes with guests, or sometimes I might want to get some shit off my chest every once in a blue moon. I just want y'all to check it out. I was going to do some story time with Preach right now, but my conversation with Barrett was kind of long, so I don't want to overwhelm you guys for the first episode, but keep it locked in. Thank you guys for listening to Preach Jacobs podcast. Shout out to my man Barrett, and we're going to start the conversation right now. So I guess I'm running it. I'm quarterbacking it. You quarterbacking it? How do you?
No, you're quarterbacking it. I can't quarterback your show.
This is the segment. Okay. All right, we can keep this part in too. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Preach Jacobs with the Preach Jacobs podcast, and this is our first episode. And we thought that it'd be a really, really great opportunity to get someone that I know very well. My homie Barrett with the All About Nothing podcast is also the person that is distributing the Preach Jacobs podcast, and we thought it'd be really, really interesting. We've been talking for a long time about how should this podcast go? Should it be video? Should we do it once a week, twice a week? And quite frankly, after I got over the idea of wanting to film it and just say, fuck it, let's just do audio, it made it a lot easier. So I say this to say, as you guys will probably have heard an introduction before we get to this part of the conversation, sometimes I'll have guests, sometimes I won't. Sometimes it'll be hyper local. Sometimes it'll be people that I'm really, really cool with and think are very interesting. This is all to help elevate and amplify our conversation series at the Koger Center for the Arts. Our art gallery SoulHAUS is at the Koger Center for the Arts on Green Street. By the time this podcast will come out, I think you would have missed the August 20th one where we had with Nikki Finney, the civil rights activist, and visual artist Dre Lopez. The next one is coming up September the 10th. We're going to have Chef Amethyst Ganaway, and some more details of that is coming as they develop. But Barrett, for our 2 listeners out here, because we just got started,
You're
tell
counting
us
us.
more. Yeah, us. Yeah, it's us. And that's about it. Like, listen, all right, funny shit. So you just played a little bit of the details. I was on Hot 103.9 last night promoting the show for August 20th at the Koger Center. And it was really funny because it felt like, you ever see a movie where it's like the 1930s and people are like trying to look at a radio to listen to a Joe Louis fight? And last night became that. So Sunday nights is usually Uno night with the family, and we all are hanging out. And I said, hey guys, we have to play the radio. And my family's like,
Hold on. Let me pull it out of the closet.
listen. And my family's like, how in the hell are we going to play the radio? So I think we did exactly what you did. My dad has the Alexa joint, and we just said play the radio. But what I was seeing that was supposed to be playing online was different than what was on air. So my mom and I literally went in her car and started like trying to listen to it. And
That's what you meant.
yeah. We went.
That's what you meant. Because you were like, I'm in the car. And I was like, well, that seems like the natural place to listen to it.
Yeah, we were sitting in the carport, and when we figured out that it was just a delay on the digital side versus what was on the radio, we went back into the kitchen. And the way the show works, it plays like a lot of music, and we had like a couple of breaks. So my brother and my father were outside, working on cars. And I remember when I heard my voice, I opened the door and I yelled, "Come on inside, I'm on." And guess what? Nobody walked the fuck inside. So
we've heard it.
So you text me and said, I'll record it. I said, I appreciate it, man. So but thank you for being so helpful. Tell the people about you and the greatest podcast in Columbia, South Carolina that you are running.
So to introduce myself, for the 3rd iteration of your podcast, my name is Barrett Gruber. I host the All About Nothing podcast, which is myself and Zach King. And we have the running joke is the podcast is all about nothing. But in truth, every episode is about something, whether it's a guest or if it is some event here in South Carolina or something like that. So we basically use the podcast as a medium to try and promote local businesses and events here in South Carolina. But we also have national and international guests. I have a postcard on my board right behind me from a kid I want to say we had on shortly after the Coastal Comic Con back in March. And he went to Afghanistan to interview Taliban warlords.
Oh, okay.
So he sent me a postcard from there while he's there.
Help.
Well, let me check. No, nothing on there that says help, but he did mispronounce my name, or he did misspell my name. So now I'm concerned that might be a sign. It's
right.
One of those blink twice. But it was, so we just recently had the voice of Minnie Mouse, who lives in Anaheim, California. I had an author who was who's a professor at Cal State Berkeley, who is a professor of statistics and mathematics, and just an interesting conversation. So the podcast is all about nothing, but it's always about something. I've been doing it since 2017, so we're on season 8 now. We describe it mostly as just good therapy because sometimes we use it to talk about politics and to bitch about, what's going on in the world and why we think things would be better if people listen to us,
Absolutely. Well, that's too much pressure. I don't think that I could ever convince somebody they'll feel better after listening to me. I might feel better after expressing myself, but
yeah.
But we shall see. My column that's coming out this week, I think you'll get a good kick out of it. We talked about a couple of things that I think you'll get a good laugh at. Also, columnist for the Post and Courier / Free Times, which I guess by the time this comes out, the news will be out. Free Times is coming back as a more of an independent brand as it was once upon a time. So for the people in the Columbia, South Carolina area that miss the old school free times and it being fucking free, 'cause I think it's going to be free online as well.
Oh, that'll be
That's going to
different.
be great because I've been doing a lot of column work and people were just like, we just can't get past the paywall. And I get also how people are saying, you want to support these publications, you pay, and I definitely get that as well. But something that's called the free times is supposed to be free. It was always something that just felt weird to the public, but I'm glad that's shifting in a direction that's going to help people's pockets. But I still say if there's opportunities to donate to publications that you really, really fuck with, that's really, really important. Even though I haven't gotten a raise in 15 years. So yeah.
Well, let me just say the whole idea behind a free paper like
Mhm.
the Free Times or or what is it, Creative Loafing, those
Yeah.
sorts
Mhm.
of publications. The idea is that they are sub publications to what is likely a larger news outlet or a larger publishing outlet.
Mhm.
And the idea is that they support themselves off of the advertising. So even now, you open the Free Times, it's wall to wall advertising.
Yeah, yeah. And before we get into what we're talking about for this episode of the podcast, that was a part of some of the pushback that people would get when they're talking about the best of Columbia. I'm always humbled to win any award, and just like you, humbled to get nominated and get runner-ups. And, it's all the same. It's just your community is acknowledging you. Please don't make that face. I'm glad this is audio only, but
No. I was. It was me breathing. It had nothing.
uh,
I didn't do a spit take or anything. He just said that. No,
but
it's nice to. It is nice to get nominated.
it's nice. It's nice. And I won best hip hop artist. I think runner up DJ and honorable mention for art gallery. I'm not being dismissive when I say that. What I have been seeing are people that get frustrated that it is the Free Times Party and they get a chance to go. But I've been years past. It is a fundraising opportunity, and a lot of people get upset with that. But I just understand. You know, give you an example because I know that they used to do the best of party and did a Halloween party. They had to stop doing the Halloween party because there's no money in it. When you do the best of and you say to people, hey, you won this award. Do you want to pay for an ad saying, hey, we won best, turkey salami deli or whatever? It's something that just goes hand in hand. A lot of people get really upset about it. I don't. I definitely get both sides of the aisle, but I also feel like there was a friend of mine that said to me years ago, he says, hey, man, I'm thinking about getting into print media and starting a print publication. So anything that is press related, especially if it's, print media, God bless you. Because I don't know how people are doing it and how
That's
people
tough
are getting their
business.
information. Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things I thought would be really, really cool for this first episode of the Preach Jacobs podcast, how did I fuck my name up? The Preach Jacobs podcast is
I don't know him either.
this misspelled by, so that's me warning you that, hey, help.
I was
When I
gonna
say
say.
my name wrong.
Well, what I was gonna say was when you said we know each other, I was like, how do we know each other? Like, if I were to give you like an A, close friends, B, marginally exchange glances on the street, C,
Mhm.
biblically, no.
All right. So there's always this joke that says there's three types of friends. There's the friend that um, you will have a drink with at the bar. There's a friend that will take you to the airport. And then the other part of that was like the funny part was supposed to be then there's a friend that reads your script, right? But I think there's a D. I think the D is the friend that will be on your podcast. So I think that's a level of intimacy, man. Listen, you spend your time and people, three people listen to it. Like, listen, I was like, hey, I'm on the radio. Nobody moved.
Had
My family didn't give two shits.
had I known that I could start giving people a script, I'd
Yeah.
have done that years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Come on, man. Like, listen, man. Everybody has their pilot that they want to write.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast conversation, and
That's
I'm not
right.
drinking bourbon right now. So one day I'll tell you about the Preach pilot.
Okay.
But this goes into what I thought would be kind of interesting is that one of the things that I think you deal with and I deal with all the time is that we're always in a position where we're asking people questions all the time, and never in a situation where we're talking about things that people want to know about us. So we had a little discussion about what it'd be kind of cool if we use this first episode of the Preach Jacobs podcast. I said it right. To talk about What do people want to know? What do you want to know? What do the AAN listeners want to know? Or things that I assume, since I've been involved in this community so long, I don't think people have any questions. So one of the things I was joking about with the column that I wrote that's coming out this week, um, we laughed at the fake news story that said that Dawn Staley had my baby.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's the column I wrote about this week. And I had a little couple of things in there. But one of the things that I just thought was funny, I threw a little joke in there saying, hey, as excited as I am to win Best Hip Hop Artist for the Free Times, I definitely have to, you know, expect that if someone says Preach Jacobs, that Dawn Staley would be like, who? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of people that might not know who the fuck I am, or just know that I've just been doing stuff for a long time and I don't think of those questions. So I thought this would be a great way to have you on the podcast, and we're already working together with you guys, helping distribute the pod, which I'm so excited about. One less thing for me to worry about, and also, you know, we've been talking about this for a long time. I think to have things working together with the art gallery being at the Koger Center and us doing our conversation series, to have something where we can have more developed conversations with people in the community that could come to the house and chill and kind of amplify what we're doing at the Koger Center for the arts, I think is really, really, really impactful. So however you want to start quarterbacking this, because I know you said you didn't want to quarterback my podcast, but I've been rusty as shit. So however you want to do this, what do you want to do?
Well,
This is the Preach Jacobs AAN AMA.
So I do look at your career, or I guess you're the culmination of where you're at. You're about to celebrate your 43rd birthday?
Motherfucker, 42.
Your 42nd birthday.
I'm calling it the Jackie Robinson. It's my Jackie Robinson year.
Man, we wouldn't have even been in high school together.
How old are you?
40. I turned 46 this year. So, but you know, I look at the culmination of everything you do, and I first of all, I'm in awe, because
don't awe me.
Well, it's a lot of it's because, like, so I have to do it from the perspective of myself. Now, I am the type of person that, one, I'm not a huge texter. I don't really like talk. I don't talk on the phone much. If people want to talk to me, I almost always, didn't yesterday when you asked, but I almost always give this reaction of, oh, for fuck's sake. Can we cuss on this one? It's up to you.
I've been saying motherfucker 30 times, dog.
Okay. I don't like talking on the phone. I sometimes don't even like talking in person with.
He said,
with
I don't
a
even
lot
like
of
talking
people.
to my kids.
My kids don't like talking to me, you know. But that's one of the things I think that. But you are so outgoing, and I see you at events, and I see you. I can tell that even if you don't recognize who the person is, that you have such a genuine reaction to them approaching you. Like, honestly, where did that develop? Well, because it's not something that just comes natural. Or if it did, like, was this parents? Was this church? Was this school? Do you know what it is I'm asking you? Answer.
Are you asking me if you know, how do you become an extrovert? I don't know. I think here's what I realized about doing stuff for a long time is that a lot of things you do creatively or non-creative, right? So if I'm writing something, whether it's music or writing a column, I admire people that can just like knock stuff out. I work in weird waves where when it hits me, I got to stop everything. And there is something about that level of isolation when you're creating that if you're working on an album, I don't have a crew of friends that's going to listen to the music while it's in process, right? A lot of times you're listening to a finished product where only me or a couple of people that worked on it, you know, had our hands on it. So when you go to the public, that's your first time of knowing whether or not people like what the fuck you're doing. So what happens as someone that is a writer or somebody that's involved in the community, very rarely does somebody come up to you and say, hey man, I fucking hate you, or that album sucks, right? So if someone is coming to me and notice me for the work that I'm doing, it's an acknowledgement that we support something that you've contributed to the community. And there's been moments when people say, hey, I'm upset about such and such. I had something like that happen a week or so ago, where there's somebody from an arts organization that was hearing some stuff, and he said, hey, I heard you were saying such and such. I was like, I'll tell you what I said, right? Because I think that's important too. I think it's important to my voice never shakes when I got to say what the fuck I got to say. And I think that is, when you said that you didn't go when I called you, I think you understand that if I'm calling you, it's a reason.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where I think that if someone reads something that I'm doing or hears some work that I'm doing, or if I say, by the time this comes out, our show is going to be sold out at the Koger Center for just people talking. Right. I think that even if people don't understand the vision of it, they trust, because I have this history of, I'm gonna try to do dope shit or do stuff that I want to see in the city. So if people are coming up to me, yeah, I'm excited about that, because that's one person that's coming up saying, man, we appreciate what you do. And I think that that's really, really important. So it's not like, it's not airs. I'm not faking it or nothing like that. I know you wouldn't accuse me of that, but it's like, nah, man, like this is, hey man, hey, to have somebody acknowledge something I created in a room by myself with little to no light, and probably crying when I'm writing an article, to them say, hey, I appreciate this. I'll take that as an advantage.
Do you ever think to yourself that it would be easier to cultivate the community that you're trying to build, or you're at least trying to involve? Do you think it would ever be easier to cultivate that somewhere other than Columbia, South Carolina?
Yes and no. I'll give you an example. So I did ColaCon, which is a hip hop comic convention I did in the city, and we're gonna do something really, really cool with that for the anniversary, because I think we're knocking on 15 years of when we first started it. But ColaCon started as hip hop comic book convention. We did the first couple of years at the Museum of Art. The first year we had headliner Talib Kweli, a female rapper named Rhapsody, who is now a Grammy Award winner. We had panel discussions of artists talking about what's it like to be artists, what's it like being African-American artists. We had speech from Grammy Award winning Arrested Development. We had all these other people in there. The second year we had Phife from A Tribe Called Quest, Ghostface Killer, Phife from A Tribe Called Quest, where Tribe is Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I say all this to say that I was doing this type of programming here, where if I did it in a bigger city, it might have been easier to do, or it would have been less of me trying to explain the concept. I remember asking for HSAC's money, trying to convince them, hey guys, if Nas wants to come here for $50,000, that's a fucking steal, right? Something happened where there was one of these comic cons in New York. Now I was told, I bumped into a comic book illustrator in DC. We were on a panel, and I said, hey, I'm Preach Jacobs. And he's like, oh, you're Preach Jacobs. And I'm like, well, what's that supposed to mean? He's like, I got into an argument about you at New York Comic Con. And there was a panel discussion. There was an artist that I had as one of the guests for ColaCon. And this guy said, hey man, how are we in New York, the home of hip hop, and all we have is a panel, where in Bumblefuck, South Carolina, there's a whole convention dedicated to hip hop and comics, right? And I don't know if that was meant as an insult. It might have been more of an insult to South Carolina than anything else, as people have their visions of this place, because our reputation was the Confederate flag for a long time. So I don't get angry about that, but I think that it's a compliment to say, hey man, look at this work that's happening in a place where you don't expect this to happen. So the positive part of it is, it's a lot easier to be recognized for the stuff that you're doing here, for the work that you're doing, but it's still not fun to have to fight for every little thing. Like, even with the partnerships that I have now, and people are great, I always feel like I'm pivoting and auditioning, right? I'm always feeling like, all right, like, to have Nikki Finney do this panel, and her family, her being a civil rights activist, her dad being the first black first black Supreme Court judge in South Carolina, all this type of stuff. There should be no reason why I have to fight to get honorarium money for her to do it. Even though she says, Preach, I do it because I fuck with you, right? There should be no reason with the work and the people that we're bringing here for these programs that I got to come out of my pocket, or I got to say, hey, I hope we sell these tickets so I can pay somebody. Hey, I got to get a loan to help pay for this artwork for this person to have it displayed. There should be no reason. So there's always that part of me that feels like, I hope that I don't have to meet Jesus for people to appreciate what I'm doing. I hope that my homies don't have to make one of them pictures with me in front of the clouds on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Before people appreciate it. But that's a part of the battle, and a part of the struggle that, anytime I think of being an artist like this, it's like your friendships. Anytime you have to itemize what you've done for your friend, you've lost.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
had
I
to, oh
agree.
man, I took you out here, I paid for this, I did this. It feel like it's over, and I feel like I don't want to be that person. Like I did this and this and this. Y'all motherfuckers don't love me, so it's a weird relationship. But this is my city, and people ask me, "What do you love about your city?" It's mine, warts and all. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I think I like I said, I definitely, I see everything that you publish. I read every article. I try to make sure that when I read the articles that I at least reach out and say, hey, that was a good column. That was
Appreciate
good.
it. Because my family don't read it or listen to me when I'm on the radio. You hear that, Dad? I'm kidding. He ain't gonna hear this shit either, so I can say what I want.
I was gonna say, you tell me when. I'll throw that radio interview on there, real quick.
We don't have to play.
We'll kill like 6 minutes. It'll. Now, you talked about the Koger Center is now I guess the hub for SoulHAUS sessions, but it's not always just going to be the Koger Center, right? Because you have visions of potentially having SoulHAUS sessions in other locations. Is that still the case?
Yeah, but I also feel like when I left the location on Lincoln Street, there was this immediate um, urge to find another place, another brick and mortar place, right? And the Koger Center opportunity and partnership came out of nowhere. They didn't know I was leaving Lincoln Street. They just wanted to figure out a way that we can collaborate on something and I can bring some of the artists that I've been working with over there, because there's always been this conversation with these places where they're like, yo, we would love to have more black and brown faces in our building. And somehow Preach seems to get that shit done. And so many people are coming to me asking for the same thing, where I'm like, okay, well, maybe there is some synergy here. And one of the things I said to them was like, well, look, if we're doing this, I need you guys to help me absorb some of my programming. So we were doing a vibe called Yoga, which was a bi-monthly yoga event where I play like, underground hip hop beats and lo-fi soul music, that type of thing with your yoga experience. It was a really, really fun thing that we did at the gallery that we're now doing at the Koger Center. What I'm doing with the SoulHAUS sessions, the conversation series, is basically doing a live podcast, because I thought that doing one-on-one conversations is one of these great things that's A, low overhead, you just need 2 microphones, and B, it's one of the things that I could do that other pods can't do because they don't have a brick and mortar. And let's be honest, Barrett, people can't do what we're doing as far as having a conversation and being able to pivot or being able to think on our feet. There's a lot of motherfuckers that got podcasts, but they don't have those skill sets. And that's not a diss to them. I just think that we just need to amplify what we do well.
Hold on, let me
And I
check my
think that
cards.
right? It's like, all right, David Letterman, you dropped all that shit. It's like, but I think that I have lofty goals and dreams of what to do with SoulHAUS. I think the 2 things that was really important for me was there was a pivot before I left Lincoln Street, that the conversation with art dealing and art purchasing needs to have an overhaul. I think that when we're looking at traditional art gallery spaces, the owner of the building wanted the space just to be a retail gallery space. He just basically wanted, hey, art on the wall, buy it. That's it. And I knew that I don't have friends that can just say, oh, this is $10,000. Let me buy this. Right. Like I couldn't afford the art that's on the walls of my space. And so what became important to me was, how do we give people access to artwork? How do we give people access to these creatives and have great programming? So we had Ta-Nehisi Coates there late last year. We had a commercial that we did, and there were an artist from here named Sanford Green. There was a commercial for Walmart / Disney / Marvel that they used for their national campaign for Captain America. And we had a big event with Sanford who did these limited edition SoulHAUS prints, and it was a great success. We had ESPN do an interview with me in SoulHAUS, and they did a big write up on Dawn Staley, my baby mama, and it was just really, really cool shit that we were getting great national attention, really organically, of just doing great programming and doing community work. So one of the things I'm like, hey, how can we pay these bills? Let's do a wine tasting. I DJ at Lula Drake every Tuesday night. I play jazz records there. They provided the wine for these events, the charcuterie. So you pay your price, you get this amazing wine from a James Beard Award winning spot. And Every time we do it, we'll feature a visual artist and amplify them. And then I'm bringing Grammy-nominated, Grammy award-winning artists to here to have really cool, intimate shows and conversations. So the programming was something that was really, really great. And I'm not saying that selling the art was secondary, but I think that if you can't afford the art, I still want you in here. And I think that that's an important part of the conversation to have. It's like, hey, man, if you come to church just because you can't put money in a collection plate, don't mean Jesus ain't for you. So I think that that's important to have, you know, your arms wrapped around the community that loves you and say, hey, even with younger people, because I saw that visually where young people were afraid to walk into the gallery space, even with the door open, because their experience with galleries is, hey, if you can't afford it, don't walk in here. This ain't for you. Get the fuck out. And adults have that same type of response with certain art spaces, especially when you're talking about Black and brown creatives or Black folks walking into some of these spaces. I wanted to change that conversation. So for Koger Center to be in a situation where they want to adopt this programming that I'm doing, really excited about the programming and excited about these artists that I'm bringing in, it was basically, I don't want to say a turnkey situation, but it was basically like they took 90% of the work off the walls and said, let's figure it out. And I thought that was really, really, really dope. So there are ideas and things that I want to do in the future, but I definitely want to make sure the same thing about auditioning is the next event has to be great. And let me not get ahead of myself. Be great. Let's make this happen. And then the people will see what you're doing. They're going to come and support.
Can with the artwork now at Koger Center, or it's displayed at Koger Center, is that something that's still available for people to go and look at, even if there's not something going on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
As long as the Koger Center is open. We have 2 locations in the Koger Center right now. We have the primary gallery that's on the 3rd floor, the SoulHAUS gallery at Koger Center. We have some pieces as soon as you walk in. They have some of the columns with some amazing pieces that we have from Lauren Adrehu, her brother Daniel Adrehu, Jana, some great stuff in there. And then we're also going to be adopting a space on the 1st floor very soon. We're working on some stuff with that. And I think I can say this publicly as well. There's also the conversation of how do you bridge that gap with these other organizations? So I've worked closely with the Columbia Museum of Art for years. Outside of me working there years ago when I was doing ColaCon, I've DJ'd, all the galas, done all this cool stuff with them, all these partnerships. So there's going to be an incredible exhibit that is going to be coming out. Let's see. When is this coming to the CMA? The Keith Haring exhibit, I think it's going to be coming at the end of September. And in October, they want me to do some programming with the Keith Haring exhibit. For people that don't know, Keith Haring was one of these prolific artists in the 1980s, along with, you can't talk about Keith Haring and not talk about the Basquiat's of the world, these really, really creative people that was in the junction of punk rock and hip hop and all these things that was happening. That was great New York stuff. To have this exhibit come to Columbia is really huge. So I'm partnering with FAAC to do some programming where I'm going to play some music that inspires Keith Haring's work. I'm going to play, I'm going to curate a talk surrounding it. And what I plan to do with the Koger Center Gallery for SoulHAUS is have a complimentary show that ties in hip hop culture and music and a lot of the cool stuff out of my personal collection and people that I have access to, and just have that conversation with these 2 places that are champions of the art in Columbia and have a way for them to work together and not step on each other's toes.
I wanted to ask you also, so you and I have had this discussion. You know, I am not like an art person. I look at art on the wall and
shit, me neither.
Okay, so that was going to be my question, was like, where did you get this passion for the art? Or is it just driven around the idea that it is embracing the Black community and the brown community and what it is they're doing to try and have you be sort of the outlet to make sure that these people are getting noticed, that these people are getting the I guess the spotlight for what it is they're doing? Because while I'm not an art person, I would never, I don't see myself ever walking into any art gallery and being like, that is the piece that would just give the chef's kiss to my hallway staircase. Like I can't, it doesn't happen for me.
think there are a few conversations within that question. And
Yes.
here's the first thing that I would say. I don't think it's an issue of being an art person or not. I think the issue is everyone has taste for something. Everyone has something they gravitate towards. And what happens is there is a culture of people that people might think is the elite culture that turn their nose down to it. This is basically the hip hop conversation that you can apply to art, right? Where it's like if you have people saying, "Oh, well, good music is, classical music, or it's rock, it's the Beatles, or it's this and this and that." Hip hop is ugh. So if all I listen to is hip hop, or I listen to these genres of music that aren't considered by certain people that is worthy, then does that mean that the culture that I love isn't worth a shit? So I say that to say, there has been this conversation of people that treat art in the community as gatekeepers, and I'm using exact words that people were saying, where they want to gatekeep, or they want to talk about what's highbrow, what's lowbrow, or the stuff that I grew up on that I love. Speaking about Sanford Green, who's a comic book illustrator. When I grew up, you grew up on comic books. I grew up on hip hop culture, graffiti. I grew up on pop art. That was one of the first ways I was able to invest in art, was to buy prints from an artist. It might not have been an original, but it's something that I wanted to make my home look better.
Yeah.
And so to see now the conversations happening with comic book art. Listen, we had a Sanford Green exhibit, and I ain't gonna tell you how much we sold this shit for, but the State Museum bought probably 60% out of the collection that we had on the wall. And I say 60 because Sanford wasn't going to sell some pieces of it. And the State Museum basically was like, look, we want to focus on contemporary artists from South Carolina. And if we can have a Black artist from South Carolina that's still alive that we can do programming with, you have a museum acknowledging artwork that was seen by some people, even now, that is beneath them, right? So I always tell people that my approach to art is how I feel about wine. And this is really great about being at Lola Drake. I don't know shit about wine. So I reverse engineer it. So I trust the people that work there and say, hey, give me a glass of wine. And if I like it, let me figure out why I like it. And I think that's how you have to look at art. It's like, I can't explain if this is from the Baroque period or the Renaissance period or whatever. I know that I like this piece. Why do I like this piece? And then you figure that out, and then you just move forward from there. But I also say, when you're having a question about amplifying Black and brown artists, that is a very, very, very important thing for me. One of the things I talked about in the article that I was talking about it being a love letter to the Black arts community in Columbia is that there were artists that I know that are untrained, that work their asses off, and certain people looked down upon them, treated them like they wasn't shit, and now their pieces are being purchased by museums. Their pieces are being seen nationally and internationally, and I think that that's a part of the conversation that everybody deserves an opportunity to create art, appreciate art, and love art. And I think that's something that is not happening with the art conversation. I think the art conversation in Columbia is just who's buying it and who's selling it. And I think that that's the wrong way to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's and it's not, I hope it never comes across that I'm looking down on it, because
No.
Yeah. But I could see how that could be interpreted by some people as like, oh, well, Barrett doesn't like art. Is that because he's too good for it? And it's like, no.
Not knowing anything about art is one thing, but you're not someone that's saying, yo, just because I don't know about it, or if I'm not interested in it, this is beneath me.
I love it.
Think that,
like,
exactly.
Like the pieces that you had in your gallery, like I'm hoping no one sees me staring at them for as long as I do stare at them, because I'm looking at every single detail. I'm looking at, like, the color, and I don't understand the color choice between this piece of it or this square of it or whatever. But I look at it, and even if it's a piece of art that gives me the heebie-jeebies, I still am looking at it, and I'm still enjoying that it's bringing out some sort of emotion in me. Mm-hmm. And shit, now I'm saying it. Now I sound like I'm an art person.
Listen to you. I tell people this about art. Sometimes art isn't to be analyzed; it's to be appreciated. Right? It's like,
well, it's like music too.
Oh yeah,
because I can tell you right now, I am appalled at some of the things that come out of my mouth when I sing or sing along to a song, or I'm, you know, if I'm, you know, regurgitating Tupac, I'm like, there's no reason for this man to have liked me and
Comfortable territory, buddy. But like,
don't, okay, I don't say all the words.
Listen, I'm gonna be a good teammate. But no, listen. I give you the example. I remember during the pandemic, I was riding with my friend to Charlotte, and it was like
Masked.
nothing going on, huh?
Masked.
Mask. But it was like, but it was one of those things where it's just like, you know, there was nothing to do. I've been stuck in my house for months, and my friend he had a meeting somewhere, and he was like, "Where do you want to go while I go to this meeting?" I said, "You know what? Just drop me off at the movie theater," because that was one of the few places you can go to
Right.
where you can social distance or whatever. And I go to a movie, and I'm like, let me figure out whatever's playing right now. I'm gonna go see it. And it was like Fast and Furious 9. And as soon as the movie started, I was just so upset. I was just like, the acting is terrible. The dialogue is terrible. Listen, it's not an accident. You know how bad of an actor you have to be for Ving Rhames to be hired as Groot on Guardians of the Galaxy, and they won't let this motherfucker say more than 3 words, right? they're like, listen, man, your reputation precedes you. Like, we need to.
Vin Diesel. You said Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
You said Ving Rhames. I'm like,
Ving Rhames.
But if Ving Rhames had been,
I'm doing what you're doing. I'm confusing the black guy.
that'd have been. Is Vin Diesel black?
Listen, there's a terminology of black folks. We call it passing.
Okay.
Where
if
he was ambiguously Puerto Rican and Saving Private Ryan,
sure,
and everything else. He's like, is he Italian? Is he this? Who knows, right? But you listen. He get tired and let that hair grow out. You gonna you gonna be seeing. He gonna be talking about this my family, something else. Anyways, but Vin Diesel is such a terrible actor. The movie was awful, and I caught myself. I'm like, yo, I am watching Fast and the Furious in a movie theater. I haven't been in a movie theater in years. I'm like, why am I acting like this is going to be an Oscar award-winning movie? Just chill the fuck out. And as soon as my brain shift and just thought of it like that, I enjoyed the fuck out of it. I'm laughing my ass off. Somehow, I don't, there was like a Honda Accord that went to outer space. It was the dumbest shit I've ever seen, but I had a blast. And I'm like, yeah, some movies don't need to go to Siskel and Ebert. I'm dating myself. But some movies don't need to go and get a review, right? Just be like, which, by the way, I watched Ice Cube's War of the Worlds.
Haven't watched that yet. I haven't watched it yet. No, I don't even want to know. Don't give me a review. Because the epiphany that you had sitting in a Charlotte movie theater is literally what I do every movie I watch. I can know everything about that movie. I can know the script. It doesn't bother me. If I have an enjoyable time watching a bad movie, it is the same for me as watching Schindler's List or the first Jurassic Park, or like I can enjoy a movie for the effort that was the intended effort I was supposed to feel. But case in point, I watched Jurassic Park, Rebirth, World, whatever. Easily, Jurassic Park has a very specific, I don't want to say algorithm, but it has a very specific formula to it that makes it work every single time.
Mm-hmm.
This one did not. and when I say I tried every which way to enjoy this movie, know that I have watched plenty of bad movies and still enjoyed them. And this one I could not.
Really? It was that bad?
It was for me. Like, and I'm not a purist. I don't give a shit. I don't care. But like, there were so many things in this movie that I'm watching it, and I'm not a script writer. I am not a director. I'm not a producer. But there were so many things where it's like, why did you make that choice? Like, you could have, I don't need to see anybody survive in Jurassic Park for Jurassic to know there's not going to be another Jurassic Park. You know, Scarlett Johansson could have gotten her body bitten in half, and I know there's going to be another Jurassic Park. Like it doesn't matter. And this one just didn't do it. So that epiphany that you had, I say I have it for every movie I see except that one.
Oh, you just wanted to take an opportunity just to shit on Jurassic Park or Resurrection or whatever the fuck it was called. That's all you was doing. He's like, listen, this is a shitty movie.
I'm just saying there's always an outlier. There's always a case study.
Here's my thing with War of the Worlds. Just like you said, it's kind of like the Room idea of it's so bad that I'm still going to enjoy it. I don't think War of the Worlds is that. I think the death knell for a movie is not whether or not it's good or bad. It's if you're indifferent about it. And I think that at 20 minutes into War of the Worlds, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't give a fuck who got eaten. I didn't give a fuck who got shot. I didn't give a fuck if the Zoom call that Ice Cube was in would have blown up. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I wouldn't give a shit about it, right? So I think that a movie can be horrible, it can be great, but you can't just be like, meh about it. And I think that sometimes if you're a movie studio, I want to see a movie studio lean on how bad it is. They're going to try to bury it, but no. Lean on and be like, yo, 2% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, go see for yourself and turn it into something where people want to see how bad it is. Because in order to be great, you got to be able to do something incredibly horrible. The worst thing you could be is just, eh. And I think that I'd rather be bad or great. I don't want to be, eh.
I think the only appropriate follow-up question is, did you think 3 years ago that you would see Ice Cube acting in another movie?
Yeah. You know why?
Did you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I thought it was going to be Friday after next Friday.
Listen, Ice Cube has been acting since 1991.
Oh, he has, yeah.
And this man has whatever the SAG minimum he gets, I think he probably got $3 million for War of the Worlds. He probably shot all his scenes in one day sitting in a computer chair.
Nice.
So Scarface was on a podcast this week talking to Shannon Sharp, and he was talking about, yo, if you get 1 million streams, that's $4,000. So imagine trying to work all this time putting the album out and just fighting for streams that equal nothing. Or you can do a shitty movie at that and get paid. Like Ice-T made a song called Cop Killer and has been in Law and Order for 25 years. Right. So he's not letting that shit go. And he probably gets whatever minimum he gets. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, yeah, Ice Cube is going to be in everything. He's also the weird guy that you get for remakes. Is when they remade, speaking of Vin Diesel, they remade Triple X. You know, Ice Cube was in the remake of Triple X. Yeah. So anyways.
You can't deny that. And I do enjoy Ice Cube movies. What was the one that he did? He did a series of them that I thought were.
Are we there yet?
Are we there yet? I enjoyed those, but I mean they aren't good, but I enjoyed them. You know,
Are we there yet? He did, and that's his thing. He learned whatever movie I'm doing, I want to do a series. Is Are We There Yet was a series. Barbershop was a series. Ride Along was a series. Friday was a series. So, you know, God bless Ice Cube. All I know is that I grew up on Ice Cube. Ice Cube was the most dangerous rapper on the planet when I was a kid. Like, murder everybody. And so to go from that to seeing him in a Zoom chair, you know, supposedly working for Homeland Security or whatever, I just think that that's a full circle moment.
Dude, it's range. It's range. I will say I am just to take it back. I am excited about what you're doing with SoulHAUS, and
Thank you.
I'm excited about the SoulHAUS sessions.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you.
And honestly, one of the things I'm also excited about is seeing those becoming available to a wider audience, not necessarily here in Columbia, but through your podcast too, because that will be content that's going to be added, that's going to be released on your podcast. As you know, Nikki Finney being the first SoulHAUS session, I think is outstanding. I've gone and watched YouTube videos. I have seen YouTube shorts because she's a professor at USC too, right? Or she is a visiting professor or an actual, like a full-time. I have seen videos of her speaking in classrooms at USC from people just holding their phones up, recording her.
Yeah.
Like
And
this is an idol.
Well, this is where I'm going
Icon.
at.
Icon's the right word.
This is where I'm fighting again, where I say that I hate the idea that I gotta feel like I'm auditioning. The fact that I gotta fight to find honorariums for her is just silly to me. You know what I'm saying? So, and she's doing this out of love because she rock with me, and she understands what I'm trying to do with these conversations. And I just think that to have her do this, it puts the legitimacy of the work that I'm doing with this series into full scope. So I'm really, really humbled and ecstatic that she's doing this.
Dre Lopez,
Yes.
I just want to say that I am ecstatic that that you felt as though he was being mean to me.
No, he's being mean. No, he's okay. Well, that's
hold
an
on.
off-air conversation.
No. Let me just finish though. I am ecstatic over the fact that you have someone that is protecting you as best they can.
Absolutely.
That they're not going to let someone else step up, which is exactly why I say, no, fuck it. It's your podcast. Do what you want. Just I don't care how big media is on the album artwork. I don't give a shit. I am there because there needs to be those people in our lives that keep others from, because you are extremely friendly. You are extremely outgoing. And I could obviously see that there would be a situation where someone would take advantage of that. And I know you've had those instances.
Well, damn, you just called me a motherfucking pussy on my motherfucking podcast.
No.
I'm the rapper, son. I won best hip hop artist in Colombia. You know what I'm saying? You can't be letting motherfuckers know that I'm nice.
For a free newspaper in Columbia, South Carolina. Okay, I'm not gonna. I'm not. Look, I'll go back to say this. One of the things that I will say is that I'm not going to shit on the Free Times for losing best local podcast again to the same guys. I'm not, because for people to go and vote for us takes effort. For people to go and nominate takes effort. And if I shit on that, then I'm shitting on the effort that they put into it. And I won't do that. I absolutely appreciate the amount of work that was done by people other than me or Zach or you or anyone else that put forth the effort to try and get people to vote for us. Sometimes it's going to always be an uphill battle. So I appreciate being runner up and being nominated, and it's an honor. That's it.
I think it sounds the way you said it, you kind of I'm not going to shit on them for winning.
Oh, I mean, I look, what happens behind closed doors is what got Aaron Burr pissed off enough at Alexander Hamilton to shoot him,
and to know that both of those guys probably didn't have the highest perspective on Black and Latin people, to have those people represent them through,
can I just tell you,
song, through rap music is mwah. George Washington, let's have a Black guy rap about you. Mwah. It's fantastic. Listen, I can't wait for the Trump play that's going to be played by all Black lesbians.
Whoa, that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
No, not just Black lesbians, Black drag queens.
Oh my God.
How great would that be?
Oh my God.
You could take everyone at the Review and you could take everybody over across the street. Like, that would be who would play Stephen Miller?
All right. Now, here's my question. Will he be more angry that Black people are playing it or Latin people?
You know what? Honestly, by the time we write this script, Donald Trump's going to be dead anyway. That is on my bingo card for 2025. Like, I swear to you, and you can listen to the All About Nothing podcast for my insights into politics. But I do not believe that Donald Trump will make it through this term. May not make it through this year.
I think you're saying it backwards. I don't think we will make it through this term.
That's fair.
Because I don't think this country is going to make it through this term. So, yeah, he might go, but that means that, Putin will press a button and we're gone.
Oh.
Any more questions? We've derailed the fuck out of this. Any more questions from my A&A?
No. No, honestly, it's interesting having to interview someone who and you care about, but you also know like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I try, you have these conversations sometimes. Like when I interview Brock for the Soda City Comic Con, like I know the ins and outs of what goes on in the background, and I want to ask him questions that will bring that information out.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that I can't, and I
that'd be a
have
good teammate.
to not even dance around the subject, but just sometimes avoid them.
Be a good teammate. You got to do that. But you've been an amazing teammate. Thank you for helping me figure out the fuck I'm trying to do with
Yeah.
the Appreciate Podcast episode 1. Any more promotional things you want to say at the end of this?
No, just listen to the All About Nothing podcast. Even if it's not for you, maybe you find some subject that we do that interests you. I mean, we have an episode that's coming out that is going to be with a local retired oncology nurse who got into game design. So she
Look
has
at
a
that.
mobile game. And it's interesting going through that conversation because she went from she was an oncology nurse and she did bedside care for patients and dementia and things like that. And it just made her think, what's something that I could do that would potentially help people with dementia? And she came up with this game named Cattywampus, just totally out of her head, just what she does with letters and such. And now she's an entrepreneur with a mobile game that could
Awesome.
potentially rival Wordle. So,
Right.
but we talk
Listen,
about
man.
everything. So
Listen, man,
theallaboutnothing.com.
I yeah, to throw that in. I was gonna say, no, I want to give you your flowers too in the work that you're doing in Columbia and what you're doing is giving people a platform to talk about the work they're doing and how they contribute to the city. I think that it's like being a parent. It's like great work, and your kid at 10 is going to say, you know what, Father, thank you for the meals, thank you for, you know what I mean. So a lot of times you're doing this shit without getting the community to support you. Just a pat on the back or a attaboy will go a long way. So, I really appreciate and love what you're doing, man.
Well, I will, and I'll just add this. You are joining the ranks of podcasts like Black, White, and Blue in the South. Politically Speaking, which is 3 young women who talk about politics from the perspective of 2 young white women in Low Country and what do we call the Upstate? Yeah, the Upstate. And then Erica Sampson, who is a phenomenal Black woman who is a young Democrat. Yes, say young. She's like 36, but
We're so old, buddy.
I know, but and then All About Nothing, What the Pod, Black, White, and Blue in the South, Welcome to Wonderland. Like these are podcasts that everyone that does them because they have a passion that they want to express through this medium, and they do. We have another new podcast coming on called The Awakening, which is actually about it's 2 women who are religious trauma survivors, and they're going to be interviewing other religious trauma survivors. And it's like that is a never-ending source of interviews. So,
listen, now you have me terrified. So I'm just somebody that just says motherfucker a couple of times and drink bourbon and have conversations with my friends.
Is that what's in your tumbler there? Is that all bourbon?
No bourbon right now. It's just, I have, no. No. But I can't promise for the rest of the night. But thank you so much. I don't want this to go too long because I'm gonna do a little intro before that. But yeah, so I'm supposed to be up at 5:15 to talk to you. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. I'll send you the link for that one. And
all right, get it to me. I'll try to get my light situation squared away so I can film or record this with the camera. So
yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much, Barrett. Gotta do it. Let's go.
Yo, high power, the mic's powered. Sleep in the day, but in the night's hours. I'm drenched in the rhythm, y'all like a light shower. Standing next to me, I might tower over your feeble minds. I'm black power redefined. Use the mic to speak my mind. While you use it to keep them blind. I cry when life dies.
The preceding podcast is solely owned by its host or hosts and is distributed by BIG Media LLC. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved.